four-time Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler, NPC West Coast regular. How many years is this now?
Since it started.
Since it started. Did you compete in it? All right, I'm going to pass the mic over to Jay. He's going to do some intro, and then we'll open up the floor to some questions.
All right, so welcome, guys. I know some of you guys are still getting seated, and hey, Lonnie, what's going on? Great to see you, Dave. Good to see you guys. I didn't get to say hello to everyone on the way in. I actually just flew over. I was in Texas at the Europa event yesterday and flew over this morning to support Chris and Lonnie and the staff, everyone, all the sponsors. They've made this a bigger event this year, moved it to Riverside, which I think is awesome. The turnout looks to be much better. I was here this morning. And I'm still out there doing many, many events. A lot of you guys know that follow me on social media realize that I haven't competed in the Mr. Olympia since 2013, and now I'm standing on the other side promoting events. I have 6 Jay Cutler events that bear my name throughout the United States. I'm still booked every week doing seminars and guest appearances. I'm not taking the shirts off as much anymore, but I am out here every year for this event. I've always supported, as Lonnie has supported myself through my career, so I love coming out to this show. It was usually the final contest I would guest appear at before I started preparation for the Mr. Olympia every September. So it was a real kind of a finishing of a crazy guest appearance schedule that I carried through 15 plus years when I was top 2 in the world, Mr. Olympia, and everyone always asks me, how do you feel now being on the other side? Do you miss it? Do you miss competing? And I truthfully, I miss certain aspects of it, but the dieting and the stress of trying to maintain and be the best in the world every year, it does get a bit taxing. And as I got older, obviously, more things in my life became more important. Relationships and family, the age does make a difference in a lot of my activities, and I want to spend much more time doing certain things. And I know the training, as many of you experienced, it takes a lot of time, dedication, commitment, and it can put a lot of stress on a lot of people to be the absolute best up on those stages, which we'll see next door tonight. So, number one, congratulations to all the competitors that are here. I know there's some guys that are standing in the back. I see you guys in the back, and congratulations to the family, friends that supported those people to get here. And it's a long road, I'm sure. A lot of weeks of dieting. And for me, it was usually 3 or 4 months of training, specifically just to get in condition for the Mr. Olympia. I was eating 8 to 10 meals a day. I was coming down from a body weight of about 300 pounds. I competed around between 255 and 265 through most of my career at 5'9", so you can imagine the calories I had to eat to maintain that were very specific, and it was a lot more than I actually was hungry for. I was really hungry only for about 3 meals a day, and I always tell everyone the diet is really what makes the person their best. That saying, you are what you eat. Your breakfast in the morning, your first meal of the day, the meal before you train, the meal after you train, those are the most sufficient meals. You have to eat certain calories. I always suggest higher calories in those meals. And the average person should still eat every 2.5 to 3 hours, whether it's smaller portions, protein, obviously trying to lose weight, the carbohydrates, fats have to be backed down a little bit, but you have to get in consistent calories, which is going to help the body become better. But I'll get into those questions in a few minutes. But to reflect back a little bit on my career, many of you might read on social media or read in the magazines over the years, and what my experience was to be Mr. Olympia and what my whole goal was when I started training. I picked up weights when I was 18 years old. And I just wanted to look better. I was pursuing a degree in criminal justice back in Massachusetts. And I thought, okay, I'm going to put on a little size, so if I do become a cop, I can, be a little intimidating. Although I did have some size. Bruce, you know about this. You're a retired police officer, right? So for me, it was just more about, learning how to train. I didn't have the internet those days. I picked up magazines in the gym when I started at 18. I joined the gym my 18th birthday, actually, 1991, I remember specifically. And I started growing. I got close to competing in a show, a local contest, and I wasn't really sure what the whole competing thing was. I placed second in that first show, and I think I was pretty much hooked from there, competing at a couple more teenage shows, ending up at the Teen Nationals, becoming the best teenager in the country at 19, and then moving my way up, competing in a couple shows, and then I won my pro card, and before you knew it, after 3 competitions, I was a professional bodybuilder at 23 years old. Next thing you know, I got an opportunity to meet the famous Joe Weider, who offered me a contract at the time. I was in California. He did the same kind of thing he did with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He invited me to come out to California. I moved it out west. I lived in Orange County, not too far from here. And I was pursuing a career as a professional bodybuilder, working my way up the ranks. Never imagining I would ever win the big title and become Mr. Olympia. And I surely did that in my career, not once, but 4 times. And a lot of second places to a certain guy named Ronnie Coleman along the way, which was frustrating, which I never thought I'd actually topple over. And I was ready to quit. 2006, when I won my first Mr. Olympia, that was probably going to be my last one, because I felt that maybe it was true. The guy that I was trying to defeat was unbeatable. And eventually I won, and fortunately now in the history books as the 11th Mr. Olympia. So now my quest is really just to still travel as an ambassador and be a role model for people to show that, listen, dreams do come true. Because I'm a kid from a small town, Massachusetts, 6,000 people where I came from. Really, no one ever leaves. I grew up on a farm, youngest of 7 kids. And when I first showed my family the magazines of what I wanted to look like, they thought I was crazy. And eventually, I became that guy in those magazines. And I get many people from around the world. I do travel worldwide, almost on a weekly basis at the time, and a lot of people say, you know what, you've influenced me in one way or another. And I love to hear the positive stories, and I try to do positive things and give people the hope that maybe they can be the next Jay Cutler, or just someone that achieves something that someone said they can't do. So I want to take this opportunity, today I'll be here throughout the show. I'll be over here at the expo. Hopefully you guys can come by, take a picture. Maybe some of you guys have a story you want to share with me, and I'd appreciate that very much. But that's what I enjoy now. It's much greater than the trophies and all the medals and all the prizes of being Mr. Olympia, is to be able to know that I've left a mark to be a positive thing in a business where, of course, there's negativity and there's a lot of doubt and there's a lot of frustration for a lot of people. But you know what? We have a passion to all do the same thing, and it's all fitness, and it's all obviously at different levels. But now, with NPC divisions now opening up and giving everyone the opportunity to compete, whether it's bikini show, figure, bodybuilding, men's physique, classic. There's so many divisions that allow the athletes now to participate at any age, starting as a teenager and going into the master divisions. I just think it's really awesome to be a part of that, and that's why I'm here today. I'm supporting Chris and Lonnie, their staff, and everyone here, the fans, all you guys that are supporting this contest. So I'm going to open up for a couple questions, you guys, and feel free, whether diet, training, lifestyle, you guys, it's your floor. So let's start that up, okay? Who's got the first question for me? I always have to drag someone out for the first question.
About a single bicep.
That's always at the end.
Oh, there we go.
I still got a little bit. How big do you think that is?
Almost big as mine. I'd say, that was my second question.
Okay.
Jay, how's your training today? What kind of exercise are you doing, and what's it looking like currently?
All right, so I'm 42. My training is half as much as it used to be. So I was a high volume trainer, so what I like to do is I like to go in the gym and hit the muscles from many different angles. So in 1 hour's time, my rest time is very short between sets, 45 to 60 seconds rest between. So I like to do the muscles in a high volume fashion where I do a lot of angles. I'll do 3 or 4 sets of each exercise, and I might do 5 or 6 different movements. So my sets, I might do 20 sets for body part, and that includes biceps, chest. For legs and back, I might be up to 30 sets. And that's why I mentioned the diet is so specific, because you have to eat enough calories to recover from that. It's a lot different from going and just doing nine sets, which is usually recommended for an average, for someone, if someone said, hey, I've never lifted weights before, I want to start training, how many sets do I need to do? Pick 3 movements, do three sets each exercise. Repetitions, always 8 to 12 repetitions. That's always what I focused on. I might do a little higher for arms, the smaller muscle groups, but I always tried to shoot to 8 to 12 repetitions. Okay, so the weights really don't matter in bodybuilding, although it looks cool when you press a lot or whatever. And yes, I was strong in my career, but everyone was always surprised I always could do more weight. I never really go to failure because of all the volume. You have to either choose one or the other. You either do a lot of volume and less to failure, or you do less volume and more to failure, okay? So everyone's gonna be specific and everyone's body type is different. I just seem to always work well with the high volume training. And listen, my goal was to go in the gym, expand the muscle as much as possible, which we call the pump, and then get out of the gym and feed it. That's the most important thing.
Are there any exercises you just don't do anymore? Squats, deadlifts, or?
I still squat very light. Probably a lot of the women here squat as much weight as me. I hate to say that. I still got legs though. I squat a plate on each side. That's 135. It's not very much, but my legs still have trouble fitting the jeans even like that. So. Deadlifts I don't do as much now because I want to protect my lower back. My biggest concern was when I did retire, and I always thought, okay, someday I am going to retire. I always thought that way. I want to be able to walk away from this thing and be healthy and be able to continue to train and not be one of these guys that had to step away because his body was so beat up. I have 0 joint pain and 0 issues with any kind of, I can do anything I want at this point. There's no exercise that I can't do now, but I tend to just stay away from the ones that, obviously, I want to fit in jeans now, so I don't want to squat too much weight. But sometimes my ego gets up. I might do, 225 or whatever, 2 plates instead of 1 on each side.
What does to failure mean?
To failure means like you push to the extreme where you can't really do any more repetitions, like we do half reps or whatever else. So, you see a lot of guys with that straining look, like, they struggle to get the weight up. Usually what I do is I always focus on contracting the muscle, so I feel the muscle contract through every single rep. The problem is with a lot of society today, you see everyone go in the gym and they try to press too much weight. It's too heavy for them. Bodybuilding, I call bodybuilding, I'm going to say, but muscle rounding and toning isn't about how much weight you press. You don't want to do 3 or 4 repetitions if you're really trying to build round muscle tissue. Yes, it's great for power movements, power lifters out there. I'm sure some of you guys train like that. And yes, it's going to burn calories and it is going to build muscle, but you're going to get the better result when you actually atrophy the muscle through constant repetition ranges. Okay? And stretching too is very important. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on Kevin Newton this year?
Kevin Leveroni coming back at 52 years old. Listen, I think it's great for the competition. I don't know at 52 if I'm going to want to make a comeback, but I think it's great because he does have a lot of fans out there. He's never won the Mr. Olympia, although he probably maybe should have. I hate to say that because there's too many opinions, but he was a fan favorite when he was competing. He was an idol of mine. I respected Kevin a lot. It was pretty crazy that I followed him when I first started bodybuilding. I think he turned pro in 1991, and I started training in 1991, and eventually I came up and was competing and beating Kevin Leveroni to win my title. So For me, it's really cool. I'm going to be excited to sit in the front row and watch him compete. Can he compete in the likes of Phil Heath and these other guys? That's the big question mark. I just don't know. Sitting out as long as he has, I would say if he had enough time to come back and give himself enough to get the size back, lower body and upper body, he might have a better shot. But I think a few months of training isn't necessarily going to be enough. And I think he's been training since the end of last year. So I haven't seen him with his clothes off, posing. I'm not so sure about it. What's your thoughts on it? Are you excited for it?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
So I think it's positive. I think it's positive, and I think it's great for the older generation. I think it's great for ticket sales. My information tells me that Kai Green will not compete at the Mr. Olympia competition. So they do need some kind of fire to show other than Phil Heath coming up to win his 6th Mr. Olympia, which I think will happen. That's my opinion. So I came back after losing to Dexter Jackson. I lost to Dexter Jackson in 2008. I lost the Mr. Olympia title after holding it for 2 years. And I came back in 2009 with a new haircut, a new physique. So,
It was the haircut. It was not your
I
haircut.
think so, right? I think it kind of streamlined my hair, brought the whole look in. But she's saying, you know, of course with the bulging stomachs now, because like I mentioned, you know, bodybuilders have a lot of distension because they get so big and so heavy. And everyone has these theories on why the stomach gets bigger. I mean, people talk about drugs and other stuff, and I really can tell you it's from overeating a lot of protein and stuffing yourself beyond, because what's going to happen is the muscles will only expand so much no matter how much food you pound into it. Eventually the midsection is going to grow too. And the whole thing is no matter what dream world we're in, I look back at my physique at a certain weight and I say, wow, my physique was better back then, but I couldn't win the Mr. Olympia, so I had to get bigger and bigger and bigger. My idea was about 240, okay? Once I got up to 250, 60, 70, I mean, everything started to get a little bigger, and you know, my obliques got bigger. But I was able to come back that year, 2009. I was doing a lot of different things, you know, with the training, and the diet changed a lot. My carbohydrates, that I used to eat 1,000 carbohydrates a day, I came down to eating 600 a day. I did a lot more cardiovascular, which I never believed in. If you asked me before 2009, do I believe in cardiovascular to get ready for a show? I said I'd rather train twice a day with weights than actually do cardiovascular, but I was doing 2 sessions on the stair mill for 45 minutes in the morning, 45 at night. I was eating, you know, certain carbohydrate combos, more rice and potatoes and things that were really just sitting in my stomach. And it allowed me to actually be better. I posed a lot more, I practiced. I was hungry. I lost the title after, I mean, it was my whole life was set on winning the Mr. Olympia competition. So when I got there, it was kind of like a sigh of relief because number one, I won it. And number two, I beat the greatest bodybuilder of all time to win it, Bonnie Coleman. So there's no way that any person, no matter who they are, doesn't think, okay, I'm pretty great if I actually did this. But I think I started thinking in my head, I'm a little too great, and I got complacent with what I did. So I tried some new methods. I switched my trainer at the time. I went with a new trainer, Hani Rambod, who's, you know, training Phil Heath right now. And it worked well for me. It actually brought my physique in like I needed to. I came back, I surely won the competition pretty handedly. And I was able to win back the Mr. Olympia, which was the first time in history that ever been done. But looking back, I probably should have retired after that show, because you know what I said even after the competition to everyone, my whole team, everyone that was there, I said I will never top this again, because it just, number one, rewrote history again. It was the best look I ever achieved. I was 37 years old at the time, and I believe when you start training at the age I did, 18, your body peaks in your mid to late 30s. After that, we can look in the mirror and sometimes we see circus mirrors that we sometimes look better, but that's not the case. So I think that was the absolute best I ever was, and I probably should have stepped away because that was, if anyone asked me the question right now, what was the highlight of your career? Yes, winning Mr. Olympia the first time was great, beating Ronnie, but coming back when nobody thought I could come back to win the Mr. Olympia and do it in the fashion that I did it. And I always say, it's not about how you win, you know, it's about the fashion you win in. I did Pilates training, I did kettlebells, I did things bodybuilders didn't necessarily do. I was in massage therapy like 6 to 8 hours a week. And in 2008, you know, I realized I was having shrinkage in one of my legs, and you know, I had a lot of compression in my back and I had a pinched nerve, so I started doing this, what they call a DRX 9000. It was a decompression machine. Very expensive. I paid like $10,000 for 20 treatments on it or something. And it pulled my back to take that pressure off that nerve. And then of course I was doing the Pilates, kettlebells. I actually bought a reformer, it was in my home. And I was doing a lot of abdominal controlling using the core. And I think that's very important for a bodybuilder. I mean, I spent 30 minutes a day training abs, which a lot of bodybuilders don't do. And the whole goal was just to stand on those quarter turns and really just have the flat stomach. And for my size, I still maintained a pretty flat stomach through my career, comparably to a lot of the other bodybuilders. And the truth is, I ate probably more food than any bodybuilder in the history of winning the Mr. Olympia. I can almost guarantee that, leading up to the shows. I mean, I ate 1,000 carbs a day, 400 grams of protein a day, on a daily basis. On a contest diet, I eat 1,000 carbs. So any of you guys that diet for competitions, 1,000 carbohydrates, I mean, that's just crazy. So, you know, that was kind of the look. That was my ideal. I never achieved that look again. I chased it, 2010. Obviously, 2011, I was going for the 5th title, and I planned to retire on the 5th title, 2011, but I tore my bicep 3 weeks prior to the competition. I tore my bicep, and I competed with a torn bicep. I lost to Shota Phil Heath, and you know, he's been winning since, and that was kind of the end of the era of Jay Cutler. I came back in 13 after sitting out a year and repaired it surgically, and I was never at the form that I originally was. But I came back for the fans because when I competed with that torn bicep, I was black and blue on the stage. You know, there was no way I was going to win. It was visually, it was horrible. But I knew I wanted to come back one more time and compete for the fans, because if I had told you like what it was like for Jay Cutler, #1 living in Las Vegas, and you know, I always felt I was a fan favorite, but the only thing I truly miss about the Mr. Olympia stage, the most incredible feeling, is when I came out from behind the curtains every time and they announced Jay Cutler, and that place would go absolutely crazy. I had the loudest ovations of anybody in the whole lineup. That's what I missed when I came out from those lights, because all you see is lights, and you just see the fans, just, you know, 10,000 people, whatever it is in the arena, just going crazy. That's what I miss about the Mr. Olympia. Those days I'll never forget, and it will go down as the greatest memory for me on those stages. But I appreciate you being there to support and be there for watching all those victories and losses. You've seen enough second places, I'm sure, right? I hated those second places. I tell these people competing today on every level, because listen, we're all at the same level. We all started on stages such as this. It's all, you know, obviously different platforms, but you need to take in the moments and how you do it, and you know, whether you win or lose. Everyone that stands up on that stage, and make the joke that second place I felt like a loser, but you know, when you do a training for the only show you do a year and it's your whole livelihood, everyone is a winner that stands on that stage, okay? Because we all have obstacles and goals we have to go through. And I can honestly tell you guys, truthfully, whenever I trained on my way to the top, I never cared about how much money was at stake. You know, you hear these things and people talk about the success of Jay Cutler, and they look at, okay, well, what do you win and how do you know, contracts and this and that. I did bodybuilding because I loved it. I loved when I went in the gym for those 2 hours back then when I first started training. I didn't have the stress of being an 18-year-old kid trying to figure out, okay, what's next in my life. I had expectations from my family, 3 brothers, 3 sisters. My dad and my brothers wanted me to come in the concrete business. I knew I didn't want to make a living working with a shovel and doing all those things in Sterling, Massachusetts, where I grew up. I wanted to move to California. I wanted to ride a motorcycle like Chips Patrol. That was my goal. But at the same time, when I went in the gym and I pounded that weights for those 2 hours, I had zero stress. All I thought about was the weights. And weight training was therapy for me. That's how I got through and had less stress in my life, because I found weight training. And eventually it became a career. And I got paid to lift weights for a living, which was great. But I never looked at it as, okay, this is the end all of everything. I knew there were bigger and better things. And for a lot of people sitting there saying, okay, well, what's better than, becoming the best at what you do? We all, for every 10 years, it seems like I had different goals in my life. I mean, between 20 and 30, I wanted to be the best bodybuilder in the world. Between 30 and 40, I just wanted to, travel and be the ambassador. Now, being 42, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I'm standing in front of crowds like this, all ages of people. It's amazing. I still have these 18-year-old kids telling me they watch my YouTube videos, and there's so many guys out there they could admire, and they still pick to choose, Jay Cutler as kind of an influence, and I think that's just incredible. And I'm really glad to be that person. I'm happy with who I am now, and I'm going to continue to be my absolute best. It really helped, I think, honestly, that I had great battles with Ronnie Coleman, us two. It was an awesome time. You were a fan of it. I mean, you guest posed at the Teen Nationals the first. Yeah, you were the guest poser. And I remember looking at you, Dave, and thinking, man, if I could ever look like that guy. So,
I feel the same way.
Yeah. And you remember what I looked like at night. I'd only been training for a year and a half. I mean, I just had it from the beginning. But I think because of my commitment to traveling, no bodybuilder's ever traveled the planet as much as I have. I've been at every event over and over and over. Sometimes I am at home and I wonder why I do so much, because I don't have a lot of time to do a lot of other things. But it just goes to show commitment to what you do and being who you are. But I try to be visible, and I was visible obviously in the magazines, and then my social media is massive. I do a lot still socially, but I just act like me. And people might see me early in my career as the serious guy. I don't take things as serious as I used to. I'm a little more active, on my Snapchats and Instagrams, and I'm starting to load some more YouTube stuff up there. But it's more a lifestyle. It's not in the gym pounding 405 on the squats anymore. And doing those kind of things. It's more just to show more personality and what drives me nowadays, and how to be me. So how much did I ever deadlift? I don't know. I like to lie about this. I think about 600 pounds only. I was huge. I was 300 pounds. I mean, I would do 500 for 8 or 10 reps. So, like I said, I sit here and preach about, don't do 1 reps and da-da-da-da-da. But I think, I used to do 5 plates on each side, so that's whatever, 495, pretty consistent. But I was never a huge deadlifter, to be honest. It wasn't really, my waist was wide, so it was really, I didn't want to put any more pressure on my waist. And in 10 years, where do I see myself in 10 to 15 years? Am I going to back down from this? I hope not. I hope I can continue to be active. I don't think I'll be as active, because I'm actually starting to pull back a little bit now and just try to commit to certain things. I'll be at this show till the end of time, I'm sure. But my commitment will slow down some, especially the international stuff, because the flights are just killing me. I mean, this week alone, just to give you guys, anyone follow me on social media here? Yeah. So I was in Oregon on Saturday. I went to Tampa Monday. Tuesday I was in Fort Lauderdale. Wednesday I came to Camp Pendleton to see the troops. Thursday flew to Dallas, Europa. I was there yesterday, and today I flew here. So that's my week. And I got training and food in between. I'm not training or coaching any Olympians. I'm more like a psychologist for a couple, but because it is mental. But you know, I am there for these guys. A lot of the guys call and question about things, like how I do things, or it's more business sense than anything. Okay. So, listen, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna be over here. I have a small booth over here. I'll be over there if you guys want to take pictures, any questions. I'll be walking around. I'll pop in the show at some point once we get through some people in here. But guys, thank you very much for coming out and supporting the contest, supporting the competitors. All you guys, the competing guys, make sure you get some good food tonight for me. Okay? I know you're hungry. I know you're thirsty. I used to just want to drink water after. Friends and family, the people that supported these people to get there, your appreciation will show so much from these guys after the competition. Just they're a little mentally messed up right now. But you guys are the reason that the sport can continue to grow. I want to congratulate Chris and Lonnie, their staff, the sponsors, everyone involved that made this show the most successful West Coast Classic of all time. Awesome. And hopefully newer and bigger, better things now with the start of an expo. I'm sure this is the smallest it will be, because I'm sure it's going to get bigger and you're going to outgrow this place and have to move to bigger and better. But if you guys want to check out my schedule, jaycutler.com, I'm everywhere. I'm sure I'll see you guys at LA Fit Expo, all these other events. Mr. Olympia, I'll be there signing, shaking hands, but I'll be here tonight. So thank you guys very much for listening. Good luck. Stay healthy, stay fit, and most importantly, stay positive. Thank you.